Peace. You are tuned into Edible Activists with your host and favorite edible activist, Melissa L. Jones. On this show, we honor Black people and their stories in food and agriculture, celebrating legacy, traditions, contributions, and creativity that all stem from the land. So tune in and let's get started. Peace. I am your host and favorite edible activist, Melissa L. Jones. Today's guest is someone who's not just growing food, he's rebuilding the food system from the ground up. JR is the founder and CEO of EightFold Farms, DC, a network of hyperlocal urban farms in wards 7 and 8. Frustrated with traveling miles just to find fresh groceries, JR turned his research on food apartheid into a bold mission to make climate-smart, profitable, and justice-driven food production possible, starting with mushrooms, and we're going to unpack that all today. JR, welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Good to see you.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure. My pleasure.
I'm excited about this conversation. I'm always excited about my conversations, but, I think some of the parts that people, some of the parts that people don't get to see, like once they're listening to this show, is the conversation that we had before this.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, but I love to be able to kick it before we hit
nice
that record. It's a nice warm-up.
Yeah.
It's important. It's important. So I'm super excited to learn all about you. I always say I'm selfish because I'm the one in the seat and I'm I want to learn so much about this person and all that they do. Obviously, I know some of what you do, but a deep dive. But also you get an opportunity to share your voice, with the broader audience. So
yeah, definitely. You can't talk about it enough, and we're definitely at a point in history where the things that myself and other people in the space are doing, we need to be very vocal about it.
You're
and
right.
Spread the gospel.
You better say it. Where is my tambourine? All right, let's get started. So, JR, I said a mouthful, right? You said a mouthful. But what was that turning point where you decided when you decided to build something from the ground up rather than fit into existing models? So just a little bit of context setting. You were, there were lack of grocery stores or grocery options, right? And
Right.
You thought that, hey, maybe I should just build a grocery store or build a model similar
Right.
to it. And you were like, no, I'm going to deviate from that. At what point did you decide that wasn't the option and to go another route?
Well, to kind of backtrack, I've always wanted to open up something. My background is in restaurants. So when I was a younger man, probably, I don't want to give away my age, but there was a point in time I was working for a particular company and things weren't really jiving with the upper management and myself. And I said, you know what? I'm tired of working for people. I kind of want to do my own thing. At the time, it was more so I was still thinking restaurants, grocery store, marketplace kind of thing. But the idea itself wasn't developed yet. And I think that's a testament to how the universe works, how God works. It's okay, in due time, be patient. You want to kind of do your own thing. You know where your heart lies and your commitment to service to other people. So you fast forward to 2017 and moved into Ward 8. I'm a Washingtonian raised in Ward 7. And, bought our house and you do the normal things. You unpack and one of the first things you do after you haul everything in, you open that refrigerator up. You're like, okay, let me go to the grocery store. And then you go, oh man, I forgot that, there's not too many options. And the best place at the time was the Harris Teeter, which is, 4 miles in total trip. So one day I'm standing on my back deck and there's a school that isn't being utilized. It had a lot of green spaces. So I think I can open up a grocery store of some sort. But then thought a little bit bigger, did some trips and went to a place called Italy in New York. And they have a very interesting model where they have quick service restaurants. They have, full sit down, a rooftop bar. They had a supermarket. They even had a vegetable or produce butcher. So I was like, I think I can open that up and do something like that. So it started out real big. But then I also started looking at the margins on grocery stores in general, and also looking at how can you make it affordable. And all that research just went into, I have to do something. The grocery store is not the answer to the problem. Yeah, it's convenient, but if it's not going to be profitable and be here 100 years from now, that's not going to help anybody. You know what I mean? So it was like I have to find out and figure out a way where I can literally change the local economy and provide jobs and economic opportunities. And that's what led me into the urban ag space. And a big part of that research was looking at Cuba and what they were doing during their special period. And just seeing the things that they did once they had that relationship with Russia and it was no longer existent. A lot of people don't know this. They were getting so much oil from Russia that their second biggest import was used petroleum. So this is how dependent they were on that relationship with the former USSR.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So once that happened and it collapsed, their entire economy collapsed. So they, long story short, used urban agriculture to feed themselves because they were literally starving themselves to death. And then to jumpstart the local economy. So from like 99 to 2006, they went from like 9,000 jobs in the urban ag space to 44,000 jobs. So that's in under 10 years. You know what I mean? In Havana in particular. So I was like, there was a big similarity to Ward 7 and Ward 8, the residents there, and what was going on with Cuba. You're looking at a population of people who are underemployed, who are malnourished, and in desperate need of, economic equality, I guess you could say, or a start of the economy. I said, well, that's a perfect fit, and that was kind of the jumping point from there. And then, doing other research from there kind of jumped off too. I know that was very long-winded.
No. I listen. I'm a context person, so I appreciate all of that, and it is. It's so easy to push, and I've been one of those people, especially when I started out and didn't know, didn't dive into like the economics of this work. Right? It was
Right.
really about access, and it was about reach,
Right.
and it was build a grocery store. There's nothing here,
Right.
because it's like that's the first thing that you think about when
Right.
when you don't have access to something. It's
That's
like,
the easiest. That's the easiest solution, and I don't blame people for thinking that way
yeah,
because logically, it's like 1+1 = 2. But like Terrence Howard, does 1+1 really equal 2?
sometimes.
Or 1 times 1, whatever he said. But yeah, that was like but that's the natural thought. It's like, okay, across the river they have all these grocery stores, but they don't look at things like, okay, what's the average credit score across the river?
Ah, right.
You know what I'm saying? So these are all the factors, like the conversation we had before, the mics went live is really looking at things in its entirety and looking at all the nuances. And the only way that you're really going to resolve a very complex problem, it could be simple solutions, but it's simple solutions that are stacked together and connected in a very thoughtful and meaningful way. So a grocery store is just a small piece of that. But first, before you do that, you have to be able to have people to afford the groceries to buy.
They need jobs or more money
Exactly. So you gotta lay that
and a place to
foundation
live.
first. Exactly.
Yeah.
But you have to lay that foundation first, and then you can talk about all of the extra amenities. You know what I mean? You get the basics down first. Change the food culture itself. The farm is located right next to Martha's Table. You know how many times I've come outside and I've seen after the grocery giveaways, things thrown to the side, turnips, onions, eggplants, all kinds of great produce. And it's not because, quote unquote, I don't like it. It's, you know what, I've never seen a turnip before and I don't know how to use this. I don't know how to cook it. So it's really taking that, again, simple solutions and stacking them to solve for the larger problem. You teach the person this is what a turnip is. This is how you cut it. This is how you cook it. So you have to really start from there. And it's multiple approaches. Everything doesn't have to be linear, but be mindful of every approach and take the time and the effort to make those simple changes more impactful.
Yeah. I swear, I need to pull in LaMonica Jones, who is amazing and has just done a lot of policy work around food. And she has named this as it's not just one thing that's going to solve this. It is all these different layers and a ton of different stakeholders that have to come to the table in order to solve this. And it's not just the grocery store. It's just not the SNAP dollars.
Right.
It is an economic issue. It is a housing issue. It is the all of the above.
But everything's connected. It's interconnected. And that's one of the things I learned very quickly. Even just studying Buddhist philosophy, that's where the name EightFold Farms comes from.
Oh, okay.
It's from my appreciation and following that philosophy and seeing how everything is interconnected. So it's definitely, you have to look at everything with a holistic approach. And there's no right way to do anything, but there's an effective way to do things.
Yeah. So, JR, why mushrooms? What makes them the perfect starting point for your vision? And what don't most people realize about their value, the versatility, or the impact on the food system?
That's a good question. Mushrooms, it was more so, what was a way I could start the business and mitigate a lot of the risk? And I could have done hydroponics. I could have done a lot of things. But I saw the versatility in mushrooms, and the barrier to entry was low. And, just to be able to control the climate. So those are all factors that were factored in. The profitability, again, you want to make sure that this business is established, and it'll be here 100, 200 years down the line, hopefully. So that was the big thing. In doing that, I researched, a few organizations and initiatives. Just to double back, my approach to building this particular business was really looking at Ward 7 and Ward 8 as a small country. So I looked outside of the United States for inspiration, and really looked at international initiatives that changed the local economies and fed people, solve for that issue. So one of the organizations that I looked at was Future of Hope. I want to say they're in Zimbabwe. But, in a 2-year period, the woman that founded this particular organization, she was able to teach about 530, 525, I can't remember the exact number, people how to farm. And then she put these mushroom farms in over 20 communities within a 2-year period. And on top of that, she was able to negotiate a purchasing agreement with the largest supermarket in Zimbabwe. So I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty dope. It kind of just checks off everything. So I went down and went from studying wine, I'm a sommelier, went from that to, I guess being a mycologist and started studying the different, types of mushrooms. And
Is that the official name for like someone who studies mushroom?
yeah,
I learned something new today, y'all.
So you have someone that's like mycology. By far, I'm not a mycologist. I want your listeners to know I am not officially a mycologist.
Yeah, you are.
But I did change. So I went from studying grapes and how grapes were grown to the same process as mushrooms, and the overlap in that is crazy because there's so many varietals, and then you look at growth factors and like climate, and it's just my flashcards changed. But yeah, so I looked at that. I looked at the multiple uses. You can do fresh mushrooms and cook them, but you can do dehydrated mushrooms. You could do tinctures, teas. There's coffee. I
Coffee is all the rave now,
That's
ain't
that's
it?
what it is. But a lot of this stuff too, and we can get into that a little further. You have to be careful, like what you're consuming, because some of them don't use all the fruit bodies. It's a lot of filler. They're not using like the good stuff. You want something. If you have your package, once we have ours, you can get ours,
Hey
which
now.
we're developing. But anytime you get a package that's mushroom based, then you want to look at and seeing if they're looking at or using fruit bodies. So that's where all the nutrients and all the good stuff is. But yeah, there's multiple uses. They're even at this point. I was watching something the other day, how they are developing a way to use mushroom or mycelium to grow out infrastructure so that it could be
Yes.
built on Mars.
On Mars.
On Mars.
Well,
So they're
damn.
able to fly the stuff out and then essentially grow like buildings or materials to make buildings. There's even companies that use mushroom mycelium to make lights and stuff like that. So I mean, it's they're versatile. I think that's one thing that people don't really realize, like how much they affect our day to day and their uses. There's some mushrooms that are used to help clean up oil spills. They'll come, yeah, because
Say
they
it ain't so.
yes,
Wow.
because they're not to nerd out, but
No, we're gonna nerd out.
there are some mushrooms that are decomposers, right?
Okay.
And then you have some mushrooms that are symbiotic with things. So you have mushrooms that help trees and plants get the nutrients. They work in a very symbiotic way. Then you have parasitic mushrooms, like the ones that are what's the famous TV show on HBO? I can't remember
I'm the
where
wrong
where
person to
where there's
ask.
like cordyceps and they take over or whatever. But those are more parasitic. So the stuff you see on horror movies, where whatever that show is, This Is Us or what, I can't remember what it is. But yeah, so you have the parasitic mushrooms as well. So there are multiple ways mushrooms, help us, and we don't even realize what's going on. But yeah, it was versatility. Looking at that, and again, the profit margin is great. Like right now, just with our cost of goods, without operating expenses, just with cost, we'll probably net about 70% profit. And then you have to factor in operating costs, so
Of
it's going to
course.
lower a little bit. But yeah, the margins are ridiculous, and that allows us to do a lot. So we have a farm to table program. We can take that extra funding, put it into that program, which we launched the pilot in 2024 with 5 kids. We did that in partnership with Fan DC, which is a great nonprofit organization that helps children in the child welfare system. So we took 5 of those kids, we taught them mushroom cultivation, and we did business as well. So we taught them, business literacy, financial literacy, personal financial literacy. So 2 days a week, Mondays, we did Money Mondays. I know it sounds corny, but we would go over stuff like the stock market. I opened up a mock account so we could pick stocks. So I taught the kids, what it is to pick a stock, what the stock market is. And then on Wednesdays, we do fun things like dissecting a mushroom, talking about the life cycle, watch different videos. So, I was kind of went off on a tangent. That particular program, we're able to scale up now. We just partnered with DCPS and Ambeers Elementary. Shout out to Ward 7. Shout out to the Cheetahs. That's my old school. I went to elementary school there. We were able to, get a partnership there where this program is going to be scaled up, and over the next 3 years, we'll be able to teach 120 students.
Oh, that's remarkable.
One of the things that was key within the pilot, I was able to give out $4,000 to the kids that completed the
That
program.
is outstanding.
But the kicker was this: I did it so we put it into a CD account where they're not able to access it and the parents can't access
I
it.
know that's right.
So from now, the kids range from like 10 to 12. That was the age range. So I wanted to put it into a vehicle where it would collect money. And I know how I grew up not having a lot of stuff. And sometimes, hey man, the lights got to get cut on. Mama got to dig into that piggy bank. But I wanted to put it in a place where it would be protected. So this go around, hopefully we'll have the funding to do this. The goal is to give each child that participates a $200 stipend. And we'll figure out the vehicle for that. And the end goal for Farm to Table, and I'm going to get off this because I know I went into a crazy tangent.
No, you're good.
But
I love this.
yeah, the Farm to Table program is really, again, we're talking about a holistic approach. It's that changing the concept and understanding of food and relationship of food that we have. But also being able to prepare the next workforce because the ultimate goal and mission of EightFold Farms is to introduce the industry of urban agriculture. So we're not just like a community garden or anything like that.
Right.
We're establishing commercial urban agriculture as an industry, and in order for that to be viable, we're going to have to train the next wave of labor force and entrepreneurs. So maybe during this course over the next 3 years, we spark the mind of someone that's going to be in competition with me, which is beautiful. That's what I want to see. And the ultimate goal within the program itself is to partner with other local universities, Howard, Johns Hopkins, Georgetown, whoever we can align with and shares our values. Will be a direct conduit to their business programs or their urban ag programs as well. Before the mics went hot, before we were talking, I went to school without walls, so that model in itself is key for me. Having these kids exposed to university experience. Hopefully, when they graduate, again, the goal is for us to have them from the time early on in elementary, middle school to the time that they graduate high school. With these university partnerships, maybe they have university credit or even a AA, and that's the larger goal. So, to get back as far as like the mushrooms itself. That was really the goal, was to figure out a way where I can have something that has multiple revenue streams, profitable, and was going to have a larger impact nutritionally.
Okay, so I know that you said thank you. That phenomenal. The programs, love it. You can't touch his money. You will get a little stipend. We're gonna hook you up.
Yeah.
I just love the versatility and the diversity in your model, which is super important for any business. And oftentimes, and this is no shade to anyone, like everyone, lots of folks have really great ideas. We start these businesses, whether it is gardening, urban farming, what have you. Sometimes the diversity, or just really thinking about the economics behind, the business, and like really diversifying in revenue and like
Right.
building something that is sustainable, is easy to not necessarily like overlook, but you just get caught up in like the ground details, and
Right.
really mostly because you might be the only person working on it, and like it's hard to scale without people.
Right.
And so I just appreciated everything that you said, because
Yeah, I would even argue that a lot of farmers don't even think about they think of the day-to-day operations, the physical workload. I don't even think they have a good model of, accounting and,
no, they don't. Yep.
and that's why a lot of us fail in that space.
Absolutely.
So
That is spot on. Yeah,
for
no
us,
argument there. That's what it is.
For us, it's really, again, another piece for us too is to have that model there. So we're accumulating data that'll be shared with DOEE in regards to their urban ag wing. We're share information with policymakers, urban planners, to prove that this is viable. So we are going to share like hey, this is our P&L. This is what we did. This is the build out. This is the cost. Uh, these are all the steps of procedures that we did. This is how the accounting works for us, because there isn't any quantifiable data there. So if you look at Cornell, they did a study about this. Like, why isn't there any data there? One of the things is, one, people are scared to open up their books because they think, oh, it's going to be a trade secret they give away. They even did studies, I think, what was it? University of London, University of Johannesburg. There have been studies done about why isn't there any quantifiable data. And again, by us blazing the trail, like, we want to be very transparent and say, this is a viable industry, and here are the numbers to prove it. This is how we affected the tax base. This is how many people we employed. Our concept we use for this particular stage with the mushrooms, we use mobile units that utilize clean energy. The proof of concept was 170 square foot container. We contracted like 9 people to help us build out and modify this. So when you look at that, just 9 businesses that we employed with that one unit, that just shows you just the tip of the iceberg of the economic impact that our presence will bring. And that's the type of data that we have to turn over to DC government, USDA, so that they have that quantifiable evidence. And what that does is it opens the doors for everybody else to say, you know what, let's pour some more money into urban ag. You know what I mean? Let's pour more money into the commercial urban ag side, because we can see the numbers. The proof is in the pudding. And then again, we always concentrate on, as we start to make our first hires, using people that are in Ward 7 and Ward 8, making them a priority. Again, and then that's impactful data to say, hey, look, out of X amount of years, we hired X amount of people. This is the tax base that we've generated. So these are things that we definitely need. And I don't think anyone's really, when they create these businesses, they're not thinking of that solution. And the difference between me and them isn't that big. We still have businesses that we think about. It's just that my goal was to solve for a larger problem. Their issue may be solving for a problem like any business, but I don't think they necessarily think about the larger impact. I always think in terms of centuries, like anything that I'm doing, and I have 1,000 ideas, but I always think, okay, if or when I do this, will this be sustainable a century from now? And if it's not, what can I do to make it sustainable? And if it's completely something that's going to fizzle out, I don't want to bother with it.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that's just how my mind works. And then I break that down into smaller segments where I know I need to build out certain things to get to that sustainability. So then that's when I break it into 10 years from now, 5 years from now. I think the shortest period of time that I think in is probably in 5-year increments. So even my day to day, what I'm doing today, sitting in this chair right now, I've already thought about how that's going to affect things 5 years from now. So everything's very calculated, and because the problem is so huge, it has to be thought out that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the only thing. Again, people start businesses, they do it because it's something that they love. Some people start businesses because they think it's going to be a quick money grab. For me, this is a vehicle to make substantial change. And I think that's, one of the things that we talked about earlier is just making that meaningful, impactful change. Don't just do something to do it, but do something that's not going to be, a waste of time.
Yeah. Yeah. As I sit here and think about my personal life, in my, I guess my still early 40s, I'm like, everything that I do, it's going to affect my life 5 years from now.
Yeah.
You literally, for me, it's like, as I get older, I'm like, nope, if it's not going to make sense, like, and listen, you can't control everything, right?
you
But
can't.
like the
You can't.
decisions that you make, you do have to think 5 years from now, 10 years out, especially the older that you get. So I completely understand
I always
that.
tell
and I respect that.
my young folks, hey, look, you got to start working out and getting yourself together, because what you're doing in your 20s, the way you're wrecking your body now, when you hit them 30s, you're going to feel it. And when you hit the 30s, if you still haven't gotten yourself together, when you hit 40, you're going to feel and look like you're 60.
JR, we're not doing this today, okay? That's a whole nother conversation. We're not doing that today. I need that mushroom tea when you hit it.
We'll definitely hook you up. We'll hook you up.
Please. Well, listen, I have to backtrack just a bit because my mind is still stuck on like the nerdy part of the conversation around like breaking down like, all the varieties of the mushrooms. You mentioned fruit body.
Yeah.
Can you just talk about that more? Because I want to learn more about that.
Yeah, so basically, the way mushrooms grow, they our particular mushrooms, they're decomposers. So we use a substrate that's made of 50% oak and then 50% soy hull. Our mushrooms, so if you look at lion's mane, shiitake, blue oyster, other oyster mushrooms that we grow, they love like decaying wood. So once we inoculate them, they take over the substrate and they start to form, something called hyphae. So you'll see like the white stuff forming on the substrate, and those individual hyphae join together to create the mycelium. From the mycelium, you'll start to see these little things sprout up. We call it the pin set. And from there, they'll grow out and you see the mushroom caps and all that stuff. So that's the fruiting body itself. So that the cap and the stem, and then everything else underneath that's the mycelium. So you'll have some companies that use the mycelium. You have some companies that may do a split, but we use the whole entire fruit body. So when you buy our lion's mane powder, we dehydrate it. We break it down into a powder. It's 100% fruit body.
Oh,
It's
wow.
no mycelium in it. Very little. Like we may throw whatever it's cut away or whatever, but it's majority. I would say 99.9% fruit body.
Okay.
So
All right. No, thank you for that. I feel like I was looking at some like ad on Instagram. I think it's that mushroom tea that everyone's been pushing. I mean, the coffee that rye,
There's a
whatever.
few.
There's several.
Yeah.
I'm not going to drop many names, but
No, go ahead.
but
Get it. Tell the people to get it, and then when they get ours, they're gonna be like, "Yo, theirs is trash. We gotta get EightFold Farms because this is beautiful."
Well, my point is that there were questions around the ingredients, like around the mushroom itself. Like I
Right.
think speaking to what you just spoke to, like I don't
Right.
know all like the science.
Well,
and
there's
stuff,
there's
y'all,
fruit
but
body,
there-
and then people will question, well, what's the dosage? And I mean, you can go through when you're developing a product of any sort, then especially one that's going to have medicinal properties, you can take it through these tests and figure out like what dosage there is. But again, you always want to look at what you're consuming. Is it 100% fruit body? That's what I want the audience to really
Okay.
come away with, because you can pick up stuff and it'll be filler. Like they'll
Right.
fill it with like wheat flour, rice flour, or whatever, and that's the stuff that it's not going to harm you, but you're not getting all of the benefits of the mushrooms.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm not pushing their stuff. I'm getting your stuff. So
No. Hey, look, we're
let me
still
just be clear.
we're still developing. So
okay, well, when it's done, I'll
Oh,
just
yeah,
wait.
yeah.
I'll
Oh,
wait
yeah,
because I know too many like great growers where I can get my teas from.
Yeah.
I can get my extra. I mean, that's just real. Like,
Yeah.
thank y'all. I appreciate it.
And that's the beauty of the wave of this urban ag movement is that
for
you
sure.
can go somewhere and know where you're getting stuff. People like the People's Market, you know that Brandon's going to source from great growers, and they just so happen to look like me and you.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I think we look good too.
That's even a bonus. You know what I mean? So yeah, we're definitely we're seeing a new wave of people are being very conscious into where they get their stuff from and what they're consuming and how they consume it.
Yeah.
So for those that are health conscious, again, just read the package.
Read the package.
Read the package.
On every damn thing, man.
Exactly.
For real. We're going to wrap up in just a bit, but definitely want to touch on this, JR. So you're on the brink of launching custom design farm units built for chefs, which I'm super excited about. What inspired that next step, and what can it mean for how food is sourced? I think actually we just kind of spoke to that.
Yeah, we spoke to that.
Yeah. Served and experienced in DC kitchens and beyond. Because I would I had a guest on the show not too long, actually my last episode, from Detroit. And one of the things that they have in Detroit is a small farm that's like for chefs. So they can chefs can come out and pick, and I think that's amazing. Don't know all the economics behind it. Don't know how sustainable, so so on surface, it sounds amazing, right? Would love to see that model, but just curious on how you see that growing, and then do you, what your bigger vision is for that?
Yeah, again, so it was more so, how can I put this in context? So thinking long term again, right? So if we looked at what happened during the pandemic, and this is a long way winded answer, but I'll try to make it as short as possible. When the pandemic hit, we saw an absence of food on the shelf, right? It wasn't because there wasn't any food. The problem was the channel that people were buying their food changed. So prior to the pandemic, I want to say it was 58% or almost 60% of our income on average went towards, going out to eat. So restaurants, carryouts, whatever. That switched, and you saw everyone going to the grocery store. So that sudden change in the supply chain rocked us. So the short and short of it is it's hard to repackage, and repurpose lettuce that's branded for McDonald's to put it into Costco because it's all branded and ready for them, right? Mm-hmm. So I was thinking in terms of that too. So how can we deal with a switch in the market, in the supply chain, where, let's keep it small enough where if there's all of a sudden a shift, we're not branding and packaging all this stuff for Whole Foods, and then we have to take it out to Whole Foods and put it into this market, or vice versa. So that was kind of my thinking too, is to keep everything small and nimble so we can make that change. Just having a restaurant background, I thought, man, it would be cool too if we were able to customize these things for our particular customers, whether it be chefs or just overall market demand. And I think the appeal, as far as the culinary arts is concerned, it's just cool for a chef to be I have a container that I can grow whatever I want in there. So if I say, JR, I want to grow, I don't know, chanterelles or whatever is possible within those confines, that's what I want. This is how I want to grow them, blah, blah, blah. This is what I'm mapping out for my fall menu. Mm-hmm. So this is what I'll need. So I just thought it would be a cool way to add that appeal for the wholesale side, but also have that same appeal for the overall market for direct to consumer. If I see there's a shift where people are I like lion's mane right now, that's cool. But let's say there's a shift and people want more, I don't know, reishi. Then we can make that shift and say, okay, we can dedicate X amount of container space to that and fit the market and be agile with any changes in that. So I think that was the overall goal. So that was the long and long of it, I guess.
Listen, and the food just tastes better, y'all, with fresh ingredients.
Hey,
the moral of the story.
It legit. I mean, and our very first restaurant client was Oyster. It's a Michelin star
familiar.
restaurant. Chef Rob, he and I kind of built a rapport over the pandemic, and he gave me a shot. And when I delivered to him, legit, I harvested that day. It goes from Southeast over to Oyster. So when they cook it that night, it is legit have been picked up, harvested that day. And that goes with all of our partners from People's Market, Dreaming Out Loud, earth worker who does supplements. So all this stuff we were picking up, and it legit goes from the harvest. Like I am plucking it off of the substrate. It goes into a box and it goes to them. So you're getting stuff that is super fresh. And the fresher your ingredients are, the more nutrition you get out of it. A lot of times we don't even think that the stuff that's in, no knock to any grocery stores, I'm not even going to name any names, but in general, that stuff is traveled. And by the time it gets to you, it's been there a couple days, a week, however long,
Or
whatever.
longer.
But it loses its nutritional value every day. And we're legitimately giving you something that it's like going down the street and plucking an apple off a tree, basically.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh my goodness. What is your favorite dish that you like to make with mushrooms?
Ooh.
Outside of I think I saw on your Instagram, did you do like a lobster? Did you do like a version of like a lobster?
We've done a lobster roll. So
Yeah.
our rollout, we
Which
did
I love.
last May of 2024, we did our launch party with our first grow. And we did everything. Like it was multiple dishes. We had a networking happy hour, small bites. Everything that was eaten that day was from that first grow. And we did everything from lobster rolls to lion's mane nuggets. I think right now one of my favorite things to experiment with is the lion's mane steak.
Ooh.
Yeah, it requires like a pressing technique,
Okay.
but
To get like the water. the
yeah,
excess-
because the mushrooms have like 90% water. They're made up of 90% water. So you have to press it out or whatever. But messing with the marinade and getting that steak flavor, messing around with I think on what was it, Memorial Day that just passed.
Yes.
I went to my brother's house and I had put them in a pan and then I went out, threw them on the grill. That was my first time grilling them. So really experimenting with that right now and getting that technique down is probably one of my favorite things right now. After that, I would say probably crab cakes,
Crab
which
cakes.
which is really cool. So
Ooh.
lion's mane in itself, it will taste like crab meat or lobster, depending on how you cook it. So, but if you go on to Instagram, and we're going to release this stuff once we launch the YouTube page on how to cook these things. But you tear it apart, and I mean, it looks just like crab. It tastes just like crab, and those crab cakes are really, really good.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Can y'all just put me on the list for any like taste test or
We
just,
have some
like-
things coming up.
Can you put me on the list?
I'm going to put you. I
please?
have your email address now.
Okay. That's all I ask.
And I'm going to hit you up and, hey, look, we're doing this. We're doing a tasting.
And listen, and my mom has actually had your mushrooms, loves them. At that point, I didn't know that they were your mushrooms because we had gotten them from Brandon at the market
Right.
one year. And my mom loves mushrooms.
Yeah.
And I can't remember, I think they were, don't give me the line, but I know we had got them at the market.
If you got them from Brandon, they were probably the oyster mushrooms.
I think they were the oyster mushrooms,
Oyster mushrooms.
for
He
sure.
carries our oysters and our lion's mane. We just started doing shiitake, so it was probably
Okay.
one of the two of those.
Okay, she's gonna be hounding me down. I need to get to him. I got you, girl. I'm telling you,
It's
that
all
is
good.
my mom.
It's all good.
Literally, but like also as a certified sommelier. Did I say that? Right?
Sommelier, yeah.
Sommelier,
Yeah.
and like hospitality background, which is a whole nother lane that we didn't dive into. But you made like some really great connections.
Mm-hmm.
But are there some wine pairings and like mushroom tapas in the future too? That's where my mind went.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the dish, man. It depends on the dish. Like,
I'm talking about as an event.
oh, as an
For y'all to
event.
do.
Well, we did it. I did it. We
Oh,
did it
you
for
did it?
we did it for
Okay.
the launch party. Yeah. So we
Okay.
did the dinner itself was like, I think we did like 6 courses.
Okay.
Even the dessert had mushroom. It was mushroom based. But
Oh my
I did a wine pairing
gosh.
for each course.
Oh my, where was I? Like,
I don't. Well, we invited. It was a lot of people that helped build out the cube, I call it. And then we had a couple other people from Johns
Yeah.
Hopkins. I'm a Ward Infinity fellow, so we had some
I
of those
saw
guys come
that.
out.
Yes.
And then close friends and family. So we had probably about, I think, 50 people show up for the networking hour, and then we fed 42 people.
Wow.
6 multi-course
Oh my
menu with
goodness.
pairings.
So pretty much, y'all, I'll make it on the next VIP
It's the next one.
list.
Hey, look, we're doing it. We're
all
gonna
love.
do another one as a fundraiser,
Sweet.
and then we'll have different events coming out in the next 6 months or so.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, just go to the website, eightfoldfarmsdc.com. Or check us out on Instagram. The YouTube page will be dropping, and we'll get all that information. We're getting ready to throw a Instagram contest. We're trying to get to. We're not trying to because we're going to get there. But 1,000 followers. We're going to do something special for that. We did a contest not too long ago. We gave out product as well. So
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, JR, thank you so much for being on the show.
thank you for having me.
I learned so much. I'm over here like a little child from a cake.
No, it's all good, man. It's all good.
This was awesome. I would love to have you back. I think there's so many other things that we can dive into, but I'm looking forward to getting me some mushrooms, y'all. So tap in. He told y'all where to find them, and there's
Free
some other
delivery.
places. Oh,
Free
listen,
delivery,
free delivery.
within a 20-mile radius. You go to the website, order, it'll come to your door. Free delivery.
Listen.
And we have the CSA programs too. So
All right. You heard it here. Edible activists. All right, y'all. Peace.
peace.
Thank you for listening to Edible Activists. You can find today's episode on Spotify, iTunes, and Simplecast, and follow along on all social media platforms at Edible Activists for updates. Want to support this platform? You can do so by purchasing our commerce or connecting with me about media partnerships at www.edibleactivist.com. In the words of Baba Tariq Adunu, there is no culture without agriculture. Peace.